One of the easiest things to ignore around a house is a small spider egg sac tucked into a corner. Most people barely look at it before brushing it away. It seems like nothing more than a tiny bundle of silk. But inside that quiet little package, something remarkable may already be happening. Hundreds of young spiders could be growing, protected by layers designed to survive wind, rain, heat, and hungry predators. And the most fascinating part is that this is only the beginning. What happens before they hatch, how they survive, and where they go next reveals a hidden world that most people never notice. If nature has ever made you pause and wonder what else is happening just out of sight, subscribe, because some of the most incredible stories on Earth are hiding in the smallest places. Most spider egg sacs spend their entire existence unnoticed. They sit quietly under a porch railing, tucked beneath a garden leaf, attached to the corner of a window frame, or hidden somewhere inside a garage. Day after day, people walk past them without giving them a second glance, and when they are noticed, the reaction is often the same. Someone sees a small bundle of silk and decides it should probably be removed. After all, it looks insignificant. It does not move. It does not make a sound. It appears to be nothing more than a tiny package left behind by a spider that has long since disappeared. But appearances can be surprisingly misleading in the natural world. What looks like an ordinary ball of silk may actually be one of the most carefully designed nurseries in nature. Inside that small structure, an entire hidden process could already be underway. At first glance, an egg sac does not seem particularly impressive. Some are white, some are brown. Some are smooth and round, while others look fuzzy or irregular. Their appearance depends on the species that created them. Yet despite these differences, they all serve the same purpose. They are protective chambers built to keep the next generation alive. And the more closely scientists study them, the more remarkable they appear. Imagine standing in your backyard on a quiet morning. The air is still. The grass is covered with tiny drops of dew. Somewhere nearby, a bird is calling from a tree. Nothing feels unusual. Then your eyes land on a small silk sac attached beneath a leaf. It seems completely motionless, completely inactive, almost forgotten. But inside, hundreds of tiny lives may be developing at that very moment. This is the detail most people never consider. The egg sac is not simply storing eggs, it is protecting an entire future population. In some species, a single sac may contain dozens of eggs. In others, the number can reach into the hundreds. Every one of those developing spiderlings depends on that silk shelter for survival. Without it, many would never have a chance to hatch at all. And this raises an interesting question. If the eggs are so vulnerable, why leave them exposed where predators can find them? The answer reveals just how sophisticated these structures really are. Spider silk is already famous for its strength, but the silk used in egg sacs often serves several purposes at once. It helps regulate moisture. It offers protection from sudden weather changes. It creates a barrier against tiny predators and parasites searching for an easy meal. Some egg sacs are even built with multiple layers, each serving a different function. From the outside, they may look simple. Inside, they are surprisingly complex. Nature rarely creates something without a reason, and spider egg sacs are no exception. In fact, some spiders invest an enormous amount of energy into creating them. A female spider may spend days producing silk and carefully constructing the perfect protective enclosure. Once the eggs are placed inside, the sac becomes one of the most important objects in her entire world. And this is where the story becomes even more fascinating. Many people assume spiders simply lay eggs and leave. Sometimes that is true, but for many species, motherhood does not end when the egg sac is finished. Some spider mothers remain nearby and guard the sac for weeks. Others carry it with them wherever they go. If danger approaches, they may defend it. If conditions change, they may move it to a safer location. In certain species, the mother protects her developing young with extraordinary dedication. To an outside observer, it might seem surprising. Spiders are often viewed as solitary creatures, yet hidden behind that familiar image is a level of parental care that many people never expect. And all of it is focused on a silk bundle that most humans would barely notice. As days pass, the world around the egg sac continues to change. Rain falls, temperatures rise and fall. Wind shakes branches and leaves. Predators roam nearby. Yet inside the sac, development continues. Tiny embryos gradually transform. Legs begin to form. Eyes develop. Internal organs take shape. A future spider slowly emerges from something almost impossible to see with the naked eye. What makes this even more remarkable is that none of this activity is visible from the outside. The egg sac appears silent and still, yet it contains constant biological change. It is a hidden world operating behind a thin wall of silk. And that hidden world is far busier than most people could ever imagine. But there is another detail that makes these structures even more important. The egg sac is not only protecting young spiders, it is also protecting a future balance within the environment, because the tiny creatures developing inside will eventually become hunters, not of people, but of insects, countless insects. The role they will play begins long before they hatch. And understanding that role changes the way many people see a spider egg sac forever. Because what looks like a simple object hanging in a quiet corner is actually the beginning of a much larger story. A story that is only just starting to unfold. And the strange part is that the most remarkable events have not happened yet. Long before a spider egg sac ever appears in a corner of a fence or beneath a leaf, a series of decisions has already taken place. The female spider must choose where the next generation will have the best chance of surviving. To us, the location may seem random. A branch is a branch, a wall is a wall, a leaf is a leaf. But from the spider's perspective, every detail matters. A spot that receives too much sunlight could overheat. A place that stays too damp might encourage mold. An exposed location could attract predators. What appears to be a simple choice is often the result of millions of years of evolutionary trial and error. The spiders that selected safer locations left behind more descendants. Over countless generations, those instincts became stronger. The result is that many spiders possess an astonishing ability to choose locations that offer protection long before their young even exist. Once the site has been chosen, the construction process begins. This is where something remarkable happens. Most people think of silk as material used for webs, but spiders use silk for many different purposes. Some create safety lines. Some create shelters. Some wrap prey. Some even use silk during courtship. The silk used for egg sacs is often different from the silk used in hunting webs. It may be thicker, denser, softer, or layered in special ways depending on the species. The spider is not simply wrapping eggs in a blanket, she is building an environment, a controlled space designed to keep delicate, developing lives safe from an unpredictable world. And that environment is constantly interacting with the conditions around it. During hot afternoons, the silk helps reduce extreme exposure. During cool nights, it provides insulation. During rainstorms, it helps shield the developing eggs from direct damage. Some egg sacs even contain tiny air spaces within their layers that improve protection. From a human perspective, the structure seems incredibly basic, but viewed through the lens of biology, it is surprisingly sophisticated. Yet the most fascinating part may be what is happening inside. Most people imagine eggs as inactive objects waiting to hatch. The reality is very different. Development begins almost immediately. Within each tiny egg, cells divide and organize, structures form, tissues develop. Gradually, a new spider takes shape. At first, there is little resemblance to the creature that will eventually emerge. But with time, recognizable features begin to appear. Tiny legs, primitive eyes, delicate mouth parts, internal organs. All hidden from view inside a space smaller than many people can comfortably see. And this transformation is happening dozens or hundreds of times simultaneously within a single sac. If we could somehow look inside without disturbing the process, we would witness a miniature city of developing life. Every egg following its own biological timetable, every spiderling moving toward the same destination. And yet not all will survive. Nature is rarely wasteful, but it is often difficult. Some embryos may fail to develop. Some may be affected by temperature changes. Others may encounter challenges before they ever hatch. This is one reason many spiders produce large numbers of eggs. Survival is never guaranteed. The natural world operates through probabilities rather than promises. And this is where another hidden layer of the story appears. Spider egg sacs are not merely protecting against weather. They are also defending against enemies. Tiny wasps search for them. Mites investigate them. Predatory insects patrol leaves and branches looking for vulnerable food sources. To these creatures, a spider egg sac can represent a concentrated package of nutrition. This means the silk barrier is often the first line of defense in an ongoing battle that most people never notice. Even now, somewhere outside, a spider egg sac may be avoiding detection by creatures specifically adapted to find it. Entire evolutionary contests are taking place at a scale so small that they remain invisible to us. But nature is full of hidden contests like these. Every protected egg sac represents a small victory against countless threats, and some spiders take protection even further. Certain species remain beside their egg sacs almost constantly. They reduce feeding, they take fewer risks. Their behavior changes entirely around the responsibility of guarding their future offspring. In some cases, the mother will aggressively confront predators much larger than herself if they approach too closely. The sacrifice can be significant. Energy that could be spent hunting is redirected toward defense. Time that could be spent elsewhere is devoted to protection. It is a level of parental investment that surprises many people when they first learn about it. Because spiders are often portrayed as cold and instinct-driven creatures, yet their behavior reveals something more complex. Not emotion in the human sense, but powerful biological commitment shaped by evolution. And there is another detail hidden within this process. The spiderlings inside the sac are not always developing in complete isolation. As they mature, subtle changes begin occurring. Some species hatch within the sac itself before emerging into the outside world. This means that for a period of time, the egg sac is no longer containing eggs at all. It is containing living spiderlings waiting for the right moment. Imagine a quiet silk chamber filled with tiny creatures that have never seen sunlight, never felt wind, and never touched the world beyond their protective walls. They wait together in darkness while the conditions outside continue to change. Days pass, sometimes weeks, sometimes longer. Then eventually, a signal arrives. It may be temperature, it may be moisture, it may be the completion of development itself. Whatever the trigger, the waiting period begins to end. And this is where the story takes a turn that most people never expect. Because the moment the egg sac opens, one of nature's most extraordinary journeys is about to begin. The tiny inhabitants that have spent their entire existence inside a silk shelter will soon face a world far larger than anything they could possibly understand. And the way they spread across that world is even stranger than the egg sac itself. When the time finally comes, the egg sac does not suddenly burst open in a dramatic explosion. In most cases, the process is quiet, almost invisible. A tiny opening appears. Minute movements begin inside. Then one by one, the young spiders emerge into a world they have never experienced before. For the first time, they encounter fresh air. For the first time, they feel changing temperatures. For the first time, they become part of the larger environment that has been waiting outside their silk shelter all along. If you happen to witness this moment, you might be surprised by what you see. Instead of immediately scattering in every direction, many spiderlings remain together for a period of time. They gather in dense clusters that can resemble tiny living clouds. Hundreds of siblings packed together, barely larger than grains of dust. From a distance, they may appear motionless, but look closer, and the entire cluster seems to shimmer with life. Tiny legs shifting, tiny bodies adjusting position, countless individuals sharing the same small space. It is one of the strangest sights in nature, yet most people never notice it happening. For a short period, these spiderlings exist between two worlds. They are no longer protected inside the egg sac, but they have not yet fully entered independent life. Then, eventually, something remarkable begins to happen. The group starts to separate. Each spider must leave its siblings behind and begin its own journey. And this is where one of the most fascinating behaviors in the entire animal kingdom appears. Some young spiders climb to an exposed position, a branch, a blade of grass, a fence post. Then they raise their abdomen and release strands of silk into the air. At first glance, it seems pointless. They simply stand there, producing silk that drifts upward with the breeze. But nature rarely wastes energy without reason. The silk continues to lengthen. The wind catches it. Tension builds. And then suddenly, the spider lifts off the surface entirely. It becomes airborne. Scientists call this behavior ballooning. It sounds almost impossible, yet it happens every year across the world. Tiny spiders use silk like a natural sail and allow air currents to carry them away. Some travel short distances, others travel surprisingly far. Researchers have even detected ballooning spiders hundreds or thousands of feet above the ground. Imagine a creature smaller than a grain of rice launching itself into the sky with nothing more than a thread of silk. It sounds like something from a fantasy story, but it is completely real, and every successful ballooning journey begins with an egg sac somewhere nearby. The strange part is that scientists are still learning exactly how spiders accomplish this feat so effectively. Wind plays a role, of course, but evidence suggests that electric fields in the atmosphere may also help certain spiders become airborne. In other words, these tiny creatures may be interacting with invisible forces that humans cannot naturally sense. Suddenly, the image of a simple spider becomes far more interesting. It is no longer just an animal crawling across a wall. It is a creature capable of using complex environmental conditions to travel into entirely new territories. Yet not every spiderling chooses the sky. Many remain closer to where they hatched. They disperse through vegetation, tree bark, gardens, fields, and forests. There they begin hunting some of the smallest animals in their environment: tiny flies, small insects, newly hatched pests, creatures that most humans rarely pay attention to. And this is where another hidden system begins to reveal itself. Every spider that survives becomes part of a vast network of natural population control. We often notice insects when their numbers become overwhelming. Swarms of flies, mosquitoes around standing water, plant-eating pests damaging crops and gardens. What we do not always notice are the countless predators quietly keeping those numbers in check. Spiders are among the most important of them. A single spider may consume a surprising number of insects throughout its life. Multiply that by millions of spiders across a landscape, and the impact becomes enormous. The egg sac hanging beneath a leaf is connected to a much larger ecological story. It represents future hunters that will help shape the balance of their environment. But nature's hidden complexity does not stop there. Not every spiderling survives its first days. Predators are everywhere. Birds search branches, ants patrol the ground. Other spiders hunt smaller spiders. Even weather can become deadly. A sudden storm, an unexpected cold snap, a period of drought. Every young spider faces challenges from the moment it leaves the safety of the egg sac. This reality may seem harsh, but it also explains why spiders produce so many offspring. The natural world is built on uncertainty. Survival often depends on numbers, timing, and chance. Yet despite these obstacles, enough spiderlings succeed, enough survive to mature, enough build webs, hunt prey, reproduce, and create the next generation. The cycle continues year after year, mostly unnoticed by the people living around it. And perhaps the most surprising detail of all is how close these stories are to us. Some of the spiderlings drifting through the air may land in your backyard. Others may settle in nearby trees. Some may spend their entire lives within a few yards of where they hatched. The hidden journeys beginning inside a spider egg sac are not taking place in distant jungles or remote wilderness. They are happening beside sidewalks, gardens, barns, sheds, parks, and homes. Entire generations are rising, dispersing, hunting, and surviving within spaces we pass every day. And once you realize that, it becomes impossible to look at a spider egg sac the same way again. Because what seemed like a small silk bundle was actually the starting point of hundreds of separate stories, each one about to unfold in its own unpredictable way. The next time you notice a spider egg sac, it may be difficult to see it the way you once did. What used to appear as a small and unimportant object now carries a completely different meaning. It is no longer just a piece of silk attached to a wall or hidden beneath a leaf. It is the center of a story, a place where countless biological processes have already taken place and where many more are waiting to begin. It represents careful construction, parental investment, survival strategies, environmental adaptation, and the uncertain future of hundreds of tiny lives. All of that hidden inside something that most people could cover with the tip of a finger. Perhaps that is one of the most remarkable things about nature. The most extraordinary events are often happening at scales we rarely notice. We tend to look for wonder in distant places, vast forests, deep oceans, remote mountains. Yet some of the most fascinating stories on Earth are unfolding quietly in the corners of our own neighborhoods. A spider egg sac attached to a fence post may contain more complexity than most people realize. A single garden can support thousands of interactions occurring every day without attracting attention. Leaves become shelters. Silk becomes architecture. Tiny hunters become part of a larger ecological balance. Entire worlds exist alongside our own, hidden in plain sight. And the more closely we look, the more those hidden worlds reveal themselves. What makes spiders especially fascinating is that they challenge many of our assumptions. People often notice them only when they become visible. A web stretched across a path, a spider sitting on a wall, a sudden movement in the corner of a room. But these moments are only brief glimpses into much longer stories. Every spider was once a spiderling. Every spiderling emerged from an egg sac. Every egg sac survived countless challenges before reaching that point. Behind every familiar spider is a history that began long before we ever noticed its existence. In a way, the egg sac is a reminder that life is constantly preparing for the future. Even when nothing appears to be happening, important processes may already be underway. The silk chamber hanging quietly from a branch seems inactive, yet beneath that stillness, growth continues, development continues, possibility continues. Nature often works like this. It hides its most important changes from immediate view. Seeds remain buried before becoming forests. Eggs remain hidden before becoming animals. Tiny beginnings remain invisible before shaping entire ecosystems. And perhaps that is why these small discoveries feel so satisfying. They remind us that the world is richer than it first appears. There is always another layer beneath the surface, another story waiting to be uncovered, another detail hiding in plain sight. Once people begin paying attention to these hidden layers, they often find themselves noticing more and more. A web covered with morning dew suddenly looks different. A patch of grass becomes a landscape filled with activity. A garden transforms into a network of hunters, pollinators, scavengers, and survivors. The ordinary starts to feel extraordinary, not because the world changed, but because our perspective changed. The hidden life was always there. We simply learned how to see it. And this may be the most valuable lesson a spider egg sac can offer. Curiosity changes what we notice. Something ignored for years can become fascinating once we understand its story. A tiny bundle of silk becomes a nursery. A nursery becomes a survival system. A survival system becomes part of an ecosystem stretching far beyond what we can easily observe. Suddenly, a simple object is connected to weather, plants, insects, predators, migration, reproduction, and the ongoing balance of life itself. Few things in nature exist alone. Everything connects to something larger. The spider egg sac is a perfect example of that truth. It is small, but it is not insignificant. It is quiet, but it is not inactive. It is easy to overlook, but it contains a story that reaches far beyond its size. Somewhere right now, as you listen to these words, thousands of spider egg sacs are resting beneath leaves, attached to branches, hidden among rocks, or tucked into corners of buildings. Some contain eggs still developing. Some contain spiderlings preparing to emerge. Some have already begun releasing the next generation into the world. The cycle continues whether we notice it or not, day after day, season after season, year after year. And most of it happens without drawing attention to itself. There is something strangely beautiful about that, a reminder that life does not need an audience to be extraordinary. The natural world is constantly creating stories, solving problems, adapting, surviving, and renewing itself in ways that often go unseen. We only catch brief glimpses of those processes when curiosity encourages us to look closer. So if you ever find yourself standing in a garden, walking through a park, or simply noticing a small spider egg sac tucked away in a quiet corner, take a moment before removing it. Pause for a second and consider what might be inside. Not just eggs, not just future spiders, but an entire hidden chapter of nature quietly unfolding right beside you. Because the truth is that the world around us is far more alive than it seems, and sometimes the smallest things reveal the biggest stories.